So what you're looking at here is my F-150, which I'm going to upgrade my factory alarm system using an Evo CAN bus T-harness and a little bit of modifications, which I'm going to share with you in just 1 second. This vehicle already comes with a factory remote start with a two-way LED transmitter like I have here. I'll show you by doing that. I can do that. I can pull down the lower lift gate in the rear of the truck. Do a whole lot with this thing. Plus I have the Ford Pass for the two-way remote start, GPS tracker, the whole thing. So it's a pretty good setup from the factory. However, it doesn't have what I really want it to have, which is a full-blown aftermarket style security system. And that's what we're going to add today. This here is a Evo-Fort3 Evo-all, which I've already flashed using my flash link in the house before. And this here is the installation diagram. Essentially, I'm using the Evo with the T-harness, the Evo-Fort3, to plug into the OBD connector. This is going to enable me to pick up all the vehicle's information without doing any wiring, essentially. You'll have all the data from the vehicle, the CAN, you'll have the door triggers, you'll have the factory security system, you'll also get the horn you'll pick up on it. Everything will be done, except what I really want to do is want to add a dual zone shock sensor, maybe even a motion sensor down the road, which I'm not going to cover today, but I've done that video a couple times. So if you're interested, you can check my older videos. I've done that before. I'm also adding a siren to it, the dual zone shock sensor, and this here, which is a motion sensor to pick up tilting. And this is actually a real mercury switch. You can see the mercury metal in there, which is illegal. Psst, don't tell. Those are illegal right now, but I'm going to be using those. So I have a surplus of those. I'm going to be using those today. Here is my dual zone shock sensor, which is just basically 12 volts ground, which I'm going to tie into this unit here, and my dual trigger for instant warn away and my instant trigger impact. This here is a relay I'm going to use to tie in for my siren, which I'm using an Omega Psycho siren, which is basically sounds like two sirens in one, so that way I can discern my vehicle from every other alarm in the universe, because they kind of start to sound the same after a while. So all this is going to happen with the simplicity of this T-harness and just a few simple connections in the vehicle, which I'm going to show you real soon. And this thing should be pretty sweet when it's all said and done. This is what I've been wanting to have, in addition to the factory alarm, which actually isn't so bad. For the Fords, I'll give them some props. It's really not that awful. It's got a pretty good amount. I'm going to show you something else about this alarm system. If you ever look at one of these higher end trim level Fords, you'll notice that they have like these little things up there. If you wonder what the hell those things are, those are actually audio and pressure switch sensors, which are tied into the factory security system, which come with the system. So why not use it? So I'm going to use that to tie into my existing system into the new Evo-Fort3 T-harness alarm system and get the best of both. Why not, right? I went ahead and used the new Evo-Fort3 Wizard flashing software, by the way, which will give you a link to download these guides. And essentially, this is what I need to connect it to my vehicle. I have my external trigger, which I'm not going to be using yet, in case I wanted to add a motion sensor. I'm not sure. I'm on the fence about that. But for right now, I'm going to leave it run out. If I choose to use it, I'll just tie it into the dual state shock sensor. The horn, I'm going to use a relay to invert it negative transistorized output to a positive output, so that way I can power my siren. And the starter kill I'm not going to use because I already have a transponder system in here, which is good enough. Parking lights I'm going to do negative to positive, and that's pretty much it. And also this one here, the ignition, that's a required connection for the alarm system using the Evo, so that'll be happening too. And that's it. And if I ever wanted to down the road, I can add an RF kit. I could tie in a smartphone if I didn't have already the Ford Pass on my Ford system. So there's no sense to add something I already have. So I'm just going to use the factory 3-lock activation with the two-way LED remote that I showed you before, plus the smartphone, because it works wonderfully. And I'll just use the alarm. So I'm going to hit lock. It's going to arm plus lock the doors like it always has. So I'm just going to have double the protection by hitting the same button. In the vehicle, the first thing I did was I synced my Evo to my vehicle, so that way I can learn the remote start, even though I have one. And I'll show you, every time you hit lock, or you do anything really, this module will come on. Like when you hit the ignition, for instance, right? You turn that on, you see the yellow light will come on. The module will turn the ignition off, it goes off. And every time I hit lock or unlock, the blue light should blink because it's getting CAN bus communication. So when you hit lock, 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 boom, there's your remote start. Blue went away, red is my bypass, yellow is ignition, blue is blinking CAN, vehicle starts. There you go. Not that we really need the remote start, but it's there, so we're going to use it. I've already separated my wires of which ones I'm going to use and which ones I'm not. So right here I have my yellow ignition, I dual stage shock sensor, my horn, which I'm going to use to transfer power to a relay to have an output for my siren, And I'm going to use my parking lights. Then I'm just going to enjoy my alarm. I also have an instant trigger output for... Well, there's my sensor right there, my dual zone shock sensor, which doesn't really matter which one you use, by the way. I don't know if that's a question anybody's actually going to care to ask. And I'm also going to use a tilt switch for my hood, so that way I'll have a reliable tilt sensor in this vehicle as well. Just as an aside, as soon as I pulled my hood lever, the horn started blowing. So the factory alarm picks up the hood just as well as the door triggers. So if you're not going to do like I'm going to do and add a tilt switch on your hood, you're going to pick it up that way. But if you want to get that extra feature picking up the tilt like I'm going to want, you don't have to really go ahead and install this yourself, or a pin switch for that matter, because the factory will grab it. Out here under my hood, there's already some factory grounds. I got a couple good ones right here, so I'm going to use those. And also there's this piece of cloth tape which exposes this pre-drilled, looks like maybe like a 10 mil, so I'm going to use that to mount my sensor right there without doing any drilling. And right down here, that grommet, that's where I'm going to come through for my wires for my siren and my tilt switch. Right here's where I came out with my loom with my 2 leads. I have them running across here, up, and I have one terminating here at the factory bolt for the mercury tilt switch. The other one goes to the ground, so that it completes the circuit. The other one runs back through this grommet, up and behind this cloth material behind the firewall up on the top. I ran that straight over. And you'll see down here, it's where I have my siren, which I mounted inside this little area so it's safe and contained and shooting straight down. I have my second relay right here, which I independently fused, sharing power with the other one next to it for the air horn. So there's a 7.5 amp fuse for this. And I got that guy running right through here. Again, factory bolt, running around, heat shrink and loomed, going around, up and over to inside the cabin. So there's my tilt switch. My relay will invert negative transistorized output from the Evo remote start alarm to the relay to quick power DC to my siren. Boop. Now I'm back inside the cabin, and there's my 2 leads. Black is for my tilt switch, the silver one is for my siren. And I've got my leads here ran out from the Evo so I can connect my alarm functions. The one connection I have to make behind my parking lights, which is right here, is that gray pin, and that's my parking lights. So when I put on my parking lights, that wire will go low to ground. I'm going to run that down to the brown white at the Evo, and it'll give my parking lights the opportunity to blink while my alarm is going off when it's triggered. So there it is, the alarm is fully installed. I omitted the yellow connection right here, and I left it loose for a reason, because I'm only going to use this as an active alarm. I'm not using the passive auto smart rearming, as they call it, because I just want it to be set when I want it to set, not any other time. So with that in mind, I'm going to experiment and let that just be a side note that the yellow ignition wire I'm leaving omitted, especially in this vehicle, because in this vehicle I have to go all the way over there so the passenger kid can grab it, or to add it to or to tie off the ignition charger that I wired in there a couple months back. I don't really feel like doing that. I have a dual zone shock sensor, and let it be known that the dual zone shock sensor only picks up 1 instant trigger. It does not do 1 away, not on this particular unit here. I've done it on the Evo-1 successfully, but this module right here, it doesn't matter. I've tried diode isolating it, I've tried separating them, isolating them to 1 by 1, either way. However it works, you hit it, the shock sensor just goes off, instant trigger, that's all it does. So far my aftermarket alarm is picking up everything the factory alarm picks up, which of course is the hood, the doors, front, rear, nothing on the rear of course because it's a pickup truck, and that's good enough for me. So I have the pressure sensors, I have a shock sensor, door trigger, hood, mercury switch, which I've added, I showed you earlier on the video. So this is a pretty comprehensive system for a factory enhancement. It's really not so bad. Let me show you how it looks when you're actually using the system. I just stepped out of the truck and hit lock once, and that's going to set my alarm system, not the factory alarm. You have to hit it twice to do the factory system, so keep that in mind. So when you see when I walk up to the vehicle, maybe you can see the sensor down there on the floor, and when I hit it, see? Instant trigger, that's all you're getting out of that thing. So keep that in mind. Now, if I were to get out, hit lock 1 time, again, all I'm going to get is my factory security, which is going to do my tilt switch under the hood, which is not going to be working at this point anyway, because it's mounted to the firewall, which is going to pick up when the whole vehicle is tilted. It's like someone's going to steal my wheels or tilt the vehicle away, something like that. That's not going to help me. The door trigger, of course, will work, and that's about all it's going to work. So I'm going to set it for full security system, factory alarm plus my additional alarm, once, twice. And you get that factory horn, that tells you that you got both. Typically in most vehicles, you're going to want to wait about 30 seconds for it to set up. That's my installation of the Fort and Evo-all alarm upgrade on this Ford F-150 with the Evo-Fort3. It's a nice little option if you just want to add on a siren, shock sensor, a couple little features, add a little siren, make a little bit more noise, and just enhance it to make it a little bit more. If you have any questions, shoot me a message. Let me know what your questions are, what your concerns are, how it worked out, if I'm still happy with it, or whatever else you're thinking about it. And I'll see you on the next video.